Welcome to this episode of the Down the Foot podcast. On this week's episode, Derek, Dave, and I are joined by the voice of the Wanderers himself, Dominik Diamond. Welcome to the show, pal.
Am I really the voice of the Wanderers now? That's cool.
Yeah,
That's brilliant.
I would say so. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's definitely a toss-up between him and Lydon of the voices we hear the most, but the carryover at halftime is strong, very strong.
Yeah, I think Chris is the voice of the Wanderers, and I'm the I'm the slightly battered elderly face of the Wanderers media and fan engagement.
To my kids, not only is Dom the voice of the Halifax Wanderers, my son once described him as the most Scottish sounding person he has ever heard. So
Perfect.
Brilliant.
Wow.
That's great.
He's never worked at a UK call centre and talked to somebody from the heart of Glasgow, so I can tell you that trying to get somebody to decipher those conversations was always fun. So thanks so much for doing this. So I guess our first question is how did you become involved with the Wanderers? How did this all begin?
It's a kind of thing I just kind of grew into when I came back from Calgary to join Q104 in Halifax. They are the stations, they're the radio sponsor. So because of my kind of football background, then I think I'd only been there like about a week when they said, "Oh, do you want to do the t-shirt toss at halftime?" So I was like, yeah. So I started off doing that, and then I knew Trevor Walworth really well, who was the head of marketing there, because he used to be my boss at Stingray Radio. And then Lydon was off, like I think within about the first 2 weeks that I was back in Nova Scotia. So I just filled in for Chris a couple of times doing the stadium announcing. I'd never done stadium announcing anywhere before. And so kind of that was it. And it's just kind of grown a bit each year. So then the next season I started doing the Timbits halftime games. And most of this was down to Trevor Walworth. He was the guy who was like, look, you're perfect fit for the club. You know, you've got that credibility. Most of the fans are expats. You've got that credibility. People know you, from the UK and you football stuff you did there for Radio 5 and Channel 5 and whatnot. So yeah, I want you to do as much as you can. And then the final kind of, the turning point for me was when I said to Derek Martin, I said, look, I'd really like to do the team announcements because I did it once, I think, when I was trying to think if I did it once from the crowd impromptu. But anyway, I said to Derek, I said, I think this is going to be a really good thing. And the moment I did that, I kind of felt like that was me and the Wanderers like that. And then this season, we've again, I met with Derek in a close season, and I said, look, I really want to further my role. And we talked about some ideas, and that's how we came up with the Wanderers Weekly on YouTube. So yeah, though, that's it. I'm in with the bricks now. That's it. So I'll be harder to get rid of than Rampy.
Well, when he retires, he's going to take over your job, man. So you're in trouble. Yeah. So like, obviously, there's something about the club and the community that kind of keeps you invested. Like, what is it that kind of keeps you coming back? Because, as you said, you're just filling in, and then suddenly it's like a bigger part of your life, right?
I have this theory that we don't really choose our football clubs. They choose us. And that can be, because of the feeling you get if your dad takes you to the football, or a family member, or you happen to watch a game on TV, not just football clubs, but sports teams in general. Like I started watching the NFL when Channel 4 showed it in the UK, and that coincided with John Elway's brilliant comeback. So I became a Denver Broncos fan. So I think that it was... I was always aware of the Wanderers when I was out in Calgary, even though I used to go and see Calgary all the time, and I got on really well with Tommy Wheeldon. I still love that guy to bits. But there was a pal of mine called Brian from Beaver Bank, a Scottish guy, who, if you ever meet him, good luck, because I can't understand the word he says. His accent is so strong. And I'm Scottish. He's impossible to understand. And he was always posting pictures of the Wanderers ground. I thought it was the most beautiful ground in the CPL. It was always sunny as well. And I thought, oh, this is great. But it was just, I know this is a wanky answer, but I just felt it. I felt it in my heart. I just felt a connection with the fans really, really quickly. And I can honestly say, hand on my heart, I feel greater love for Halifax Wanderers than I have for any other football club in my life. I feel more, even Celtic,
Wow.
who I'm synonymous with in a lot of ways, but I feel the strongest connection with Halifax Wanderers. I've never felt part of a football club as much. But then again, Celtic banned me from Celtic TV after one appearance, so they're not even getting a look at it.
It's as well, like, I think it's because, like, you're kind of at the ground zero of it, like, it's starting off, like, not many people get to do that, right? And I think, like, Celtic had obviously been around for a long time before you were able to grace the grounds, right? So that probably helps. So, you kind of mentioned there about the Wanderers Weekly show. So you kind of just briefly said there about Derek. So how did that idea come? How did the concept come? And how are you getting on? Because everybody knows
it's good, yeah. I basically started at the end of last season absolutely bombarding Derek with ideas. I'd send him like 10-page documents and everything like that. And, the great thing about Derek is he's a young, dynamic owner, and he's very, very ambitious for the club, and he really wants the club to be a big modern club with all the bells and whistles that come with it. So yeah, it was a kind of pretty straightforward thing. He was thinking about it anyway, of doing something, trying to get something on the go with a YouTube channel, trying to increase a more of an authored video presence. Like we do great work with all the clips and everything and the brilliant videos from training and everything, but just someone who could be that kind of authored presence, that filter representing the fans. So and so I got together with Ryan, and who I absolutely love working with. He's an absolute superstar, and it's just basically the two of us, right? It's just two people. So he sets up we've got Katie helps us as well, but Ryan sets up like 3 cameras, and he's on there with a mixing computer, and he does all the microphones, but it's just me and him, which I find quite amazing, having started my career on screen on a TV show on Channel 4 that took over power stations with multiple cameras and movie budgets and everything. So it's amazing that it's just the two of us now. But I've absolutely loved it, because I think that anything that gets fans more access to the club that they love and the club they support, emotionally, psychologically and financially, we deserve that access as fans. And there's nothing I hate. Unfortunately, I'm going to slag off Celtic a lot in this podcast, because I'm really not happy with the club just now. We've got a great example where Celtic have banned the most vocal fan groups, that they're not letting fan media into interviews, but yet they let Liverpool come in and do an interview with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I mean, that's utter disdain that they are. So I think that I think the fans deserve as much access as possible, and Wanderers Weekly is a brilliant way to do it. And I would urge anyone, if they've not come down to the live recording yet, come and do it, because it's a great atmosphere that we have in the Footy Den. And the players that come on, they're very generous with their time. They'll hang around and chat and everything like that. So it's a good experience.
So the fans get to know the players as people, it just strengthens that connection you were talking about, right? So.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dave.
And I also think that's good, Derek, we're always really guilty. Well, I'm really guilty as a football fan of being really reactionary and getting angry really quickly at teams' performances. And we forget that they're human beings. And especially in the case of our squad just now, they're really young kids, half of them. So I think the Wanderers Weekly helps us to see the human side. So maybe next time, if you're wanting to let rip on someone, you go, actually, do you know what? He told a very funny story about how he's frightened of sharks. I'll give him a pass.
Oh, I love that. So obviously, like, you've had, I think Vanny's been on twice now, I think.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a bit of a relationship between the two of you building up there. How is that developing over time for you?
I'm besotted with him. I mean, I've got I haven't had a man crush like this since the young Colin Farrell graced our movie screens. He's the most hypnotic his eyes, they're like the tractor beam from the Death Star. They just pull you in, So he's got such a magnetic personality. I love him because he's left wing, he's socialist, he's all for the working class, which I am as well, and I thought it was really interesting on you guys' pod the other week when Gary was on, and he was saying about how much his socialist principles guide his football principles, and he's absolutely right. And I think he is a man of unquestionable integrity, and he's the real deal. He's so principled, and he plays a beautiful style of football, and he is so open and he is so eloquent. I remember after the last Wanderers Weekly when I caught up with him when he was in Spain after a friendly, and he was talking about young Harvey, the young kid, and he broke his wrist when he came on, like after a minute, and then afterwards Ryan is like, "Well, I better check. We might not be wanting that news to come out. That Harvey Hughes has actually had a broken wrist." But Vanny just seems to be just really open and cool. He's very open about his tactics, and I'm like, you're not supposed to maybe keep them a little bit secret. Right? But I like that. He's like, no, that's the way I play. Unless he's just, this is all rope-a-dope, and we're going to come out for that first game and he's playing like George Graham's Arsenal.
It's funny you say that because there was a thing going around today of somebody from Italy was apparently taking video of Bosnia's training sessions and stuff like that. And I'm just like, with Vanny, you don't need to do that. It's just like he's going to tell you exactly what he's going to do. But I think it's like you can see what he's going to do because it's all out. He's an MLS coach, so it's pretty plain to see what type of style he plays. But I'm the exact same. I'm enamored with him. I think it's amazing how open and honest he is about stuff, and it's a breath of fresh air, to be honest. Because it feels like sometimes with football, it's so closed in, and even as you mentioned with the weekly show, that just for fans to be able to get a little peek behind the wall, it's like such a great relief,
And I think that was something that I love Patrice, and I'll be forever grateful to him for the success he brought the club and the style of football he played, which was just glorious. He played the best football in the league. But I think there was times when we as fans, I think with a lot of substitutions and a lot of team selections, we didn't really understand why Patrice was doing this. And I think it would have helped us, and I think it would have helped Patrice's relationship with the fans to, if we'd had a Wanderers Weekly then, and I could have said, right, why are you playing this guy and not this guy and everything. So I think it's only good. And I think maybe the advantage that Vanny has with this particular system is it doesn't matter if you know that system because there's so much flexibility within it. If you're playing two strikers up front, that's really hard for a defence to mark against anyway. And if you're playing inverted wing backs, you don't know whether they're going to come inside or whether they're going to stay outside. So it's not quite, Cruyff's total football, but it's almost getting to that where there's lots of interchangeable people as well. So I think you can almost say, look, that's our system, but we're going to be so varied within that system. Good luck, keeping up with us.
Yeah, there's obviously the league's adopted some new rules, some of which have been internationally adopted, and some of which are specific to the league. So there's some new rules around kind of reducing time wasting in terms of injuries when players are receiving medical attention. They've got to leave the pitch for a minute. There's the rule around if you don't release the keeper doesn't release the ball within 8 seconds, that becomes a corner kick. So stuff that's meant to speed up the game. And then obviously we've got the Arsene Wenger offside rule coming, daylight offside rule. So kind of curious what you think of that, how that might change the game, what that might do for the league.
I think it's hilarious that they're testing out all these new rules in the Canadian Premier League that's had some of the most questionable refereeing decisions of any league in the world. And we don't exactly have a lot of consistency with decisions. So I kind of think it could potentially just be a total circus. I think in principle, anything that's going to produce more goals. I think I'd hate to be a defender with the new daylight offside rule. That's going to be an absolute nightmare, but it's going to give the fans more goals. And, the one thing that we've always struggled with is goals at the Wanderers, so that's good. Anything that stops time wasting is fine. But, I feel that any time they've brought in anything that's a certain amount of seconds, after a few months, it's gone out the window. I mean, I have goalkeepers holding on to the ball for like 3 years in some games and everything now. So, unless they're going to have, like actual countdown clocks appearing on screen, which obviously we're not going to have at the Wanderers because we don't have a screen. So, yeah, you know, I'm old. I've seen a lot of new rules and everything. It's like, you know, I think they start off with good intentions, but we'll make a mess of them somehow.
It'll be just you in the press box counting it down on your fingers.
Yeah, it will be.
So one of the big ones that they announced today was the video. I don't know if you saw this. So it's they're going to use the TV footage. So that the coach is actually, like in baseball or the NFL, that they have like two instances where they can like try and overturn a rule.
Oh no. No,
So-
they're not. Are they?
Yeah, so it's like, so basically they're gonna have a pitch side monitor where when the coach says that he wants to flag a decision, the ref will walk over to the monitor and look at it, and then they can overturn the decision. And apparently it's like a couple of seconds, and it's just like, I understand why they're doing it, because they're trying to have VAR, like video assistant referee, implemented throughout the leagues, and this is probably their way of getting around and making it cheaper. Well, it really depends on like the footage from one soccer, which is kind of not always the greatest. So it's gonna be kind of funny whether you're gonna have like the coach doing this to flag a decision.
Yeah. I don't like anything that slows down the momentum of the game, and that's the worst thing about VAR. I mean, it's catastrophic in the English Premier League. You know, the great thing about football is that it is a game that runs for 45 minutes without stopping. That's how you build the intensity. It's not like, you know, it's not... People always go on to me about hockey and everything and how tough hockey is. It's like, skate for longer than 45 seconds and then I'll respect you. You know what I mean? It's just like so much stops and starts. And this and that. I love NFL, but I sit there sometimes going, oh my God, I've got to block off like 3-4 hours for this game. So no, football, the timing of a football match has guided my life, guys, because I will really try to avoid any movie that's longer than a football match. You know, I think that's the perfect. The 90 minutes of entertainment with a 15-minute in between, that's it. That's perfect. I don't want sport to be any longer than that. I don't want movies to be any longer than that. I don't want my honeymoon night even to be any longer than that. You know, it's like 90 minutes with a break in the middle.
My wife just got the halftime interval.
As long as you're not changing ends.
No comment. Oh, Jesus Christ. So like, you know, kind of just bringing it back to the Wanderers, like, you know, you're at Fan Fest, which was, according to Derek, was amazing. I'm sure Derek will want to probably talk about it. But like, looking at the squad yourself, like, as you said, it is kind of young, but how do you fancy your chances coming into the new season?
See, it's so interesting. I've spoken to so many people who have said to me, oh, we're cautiously optimistic. No, forget the caution. We're going to win the whole thing this year. We are going to win the whole thing this year. I am absolutely convinced. I think that we've got a fantastic squad. We've got the best manager in the league. I think that it wouldn't have taken a lot for us to have won the whole thing in the last 2 seasons, especially 2 seasons ago. We were just really unlucky. There was key things. There wasn't enough leadership in defence in the final minutes of a game. Well, you know, we've got Marco there at the back now, which is going to help. We struggle with goals. We've got 6 possible strikers now in the squad. So I think, and what I've seen, the first half of the game against the Iceland team, I thought we were absolutely buzzing. Just fast-paced football and everything. So I'm really optimistic. I love the move to 2 strikers. I think what's amazing is that I'm trying to work out the pecking order, and I don't have any information here, but I see Victor Akinwale and Tavio Cicerelli coming on for the last 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of games as if they're the kind of, you know, a bit down the order because they're younger. They've looked absolutely brilliant as a pairing. I mean, I've not seen a kind of chemistry between Wanderers players like that for a long time up front. So I think Victor, we've got a genuine 6-yard box sniffer. And if you're playing 2 strikers, that's brilliant stuff. That he's not, when he was on Wanderers Weekly, I mean, he says he just doesn't score outside the box. That's the thing. And I saw him at FanFest. And I was like, I wanted to give him some encouragement, young guy, first time away from England. I was like, listen, well done. You got 2 goals and that. And he's like, I said, I tell you, he says, you give me the ball in the 6-yard box. I'm going to score. I love that confidence. I love that confidence. The spine that we have in the team is already strong, with TMG and Lorenzo and Izzy and now Marco at the back. And also I'm encouraged by, I think a lot of people were quick to write off Rampy. I think that what I've seen of Rampy in the preseason games, he's like a man reinvented. We know, listen, he's not going to burn anyone for pace, but I think that with Vanny's system, if he's playing 2 number 8s and Rampy's one of them, he's just seen much more involved. He doesn't have to move around too much on the pitch. He can just use his brilliant footballing brain and his creativity. So I think Vanny is he's operating at just such a different level of football intelligence and we've got the perfect mix of young kids and veteran presence. So yeah, I'm boundlessly optimistic. But then I'm the hype guy. What do you expect? I'm the hype guy at the Wanderers grounds. I'm not going to go on and say, all right, here's the team lineup. We might win. This guy's okay. That's not my job.
So like, just speaking of that, so how do you prep yourself for game day? We talk to the players a lot, and you ask them about their prep day, how their day is for a match day. Like, what's yours like?
Yeah, well, I'll spend about an hour, or maybe 2 hours, just writing that team lineup thing, because I'll just look for some stats on the guys, and eventually I gave up in the end, trying to think of different amusing lines to describe Lorenzo Caligari when he's in every single game. So it's good when I've settled on one now, like Jason the Bamboozler, Bahambula, Kareem the Engineer Soul, and I'm always like, I've always wanted to ask Kareem if he's okay with me. And I just did that because he studied engineering at college and he's a good passer. So I just suddenly thought, does he even like that? I didn't even ask him in advance. So yeah, it's a good hour or two preparing for that, because it's really important to me, and I love it. It's my favorite 60 seconds of the week. My wife would probably agree. Because it's not 90 minutes now. But it's very, very important to me, and I care very passionately. It's very rare in life, in the media, that you get a media job where you just allowed to completely be yourself. Not only that, you're encouraged to be yourself. And I've just got this bit of hallowed kind of real estate in the football club. So I treat it very importantly.
I love it. So, obviously, you're a big media personality back home in the UK. So what brought you to Canada, and what differences have you seen in the Canadian media compared to what you were kind of dealing with back home?
Oh, that's a good question. I came to Canada because I was getting very perturbed by the level of violence and nastiness in the UK in the mid 2000s. It just seemed that every time I opened a newspaper, there was a dad my age going out to break up a fight and getting stabbed and killed. And I was also, we were living in Glasgow, and that was a bit tough, for me, given my football affiliations. And, it was always taking your life in your own hands. Sometimes my own fault. I mean, I fanned the Flames, I don't like the other team very much, and I've never been quiet about it. I created a lot of shite for myself, especially when I was younger and mad, and coincidentally living in London, working for the BBC, where I had no idea how angry Rangers fans were with me up in Glasgow. So it was all just so angry, and I wanted to go to a place that was more chilled. People who supported the other team were posting where my kids went to school and everything, and I did not want one of my kids getting jumped or getting shite for the sins of the father. And, that's what really saddens me about Canada now. And I've just noticed this in the last couple of years. It's just the angriness and the rage that's come from the right. And it's really sad. And I find it really depressing, because I came to this country because it's just such a wonderful, liberal with a small L country where, like, for example, I remember on radio in Calgary talking about going to Mass and going, oh, no, I'm not supposed to say that. Oh, no, it's all right. You're not in Glasgow anymore. It's all right. You can talk about being a Catholic and it's fine. And it was a country that just celebrated everyone, regardless of colour or religious creed. And unfortunately, we've just been, post-COVID vaccine trucker convoy madness. There's just too many people who are just so angry now, which is a shame. But in terms of the media, it's been really interesting. I think I'm better at my job because my media career in the UK, I didn't have any training. I just got lucky and landed like one of the biggest shows on Channel 4 as my first job. I was basically like Lamine Yamal at Barcelona starting off for them, and so when I came over to Canada, and I didn't want to do anything to do with the media. I didn't want to have my face on screen and my voice, didn't want to be recognised anywhere, but I ran out of money in 6 months, and so I had to go back doing the only thing that I knew how to do. So I started off in CKBW Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, smallest radio station in Canada. Yeah. And so because then I started at the bottom, so I think I was a lot better. I was less arrogant. I was more humble. And I was just kind of like, I think kind of nicer and more respectful of the process. So, and I think it's a bit nicer and a bit less cutthroat than the media in the UK. But that said, it's not as good. I mean, Canadian radio, Canadian TV, not nearly as good as the UK. I mean, that stuff, it's just much funnier and aggressively funny and randomly funny in the UK. So it's a bit bland radio in Canada. It's a bit rubbish, really. It's not great.
I feel like you're a Premier League footballer. And now, you're like Jermaine Defoe's announced as Woking's manager today. That's basically you in Canada.
Now, Dominic, on to some important questions here. How is Scotland going to do at the World Cup?
Oh God, absolutely dreadful. We won't win a game. I don't think we'll score a goal. If we're lucky, we'll get 3 draws, 0-0, and it'll be enough to get through to the next round. It will be absolute murder to watch. It will be the worst football you've seen, the worst football you'll see in the whole tournament. It'll be Steve Clarke's anti-football. And it's funny, actually, because when I met you, Anthony, just happened to be the greatest night in recent Scottish football memory. And the one game that was entertaining to watch Scotland, it was just an absolute dream. And I was like, oh my goodness, we've turned the corner. I felt really guilty. I've been slamming Steve Clarke for his negative tactics and everything. This is it. And then now the last couple of games, it's like, holy Jesus, God in heaven, burn out my eyeballs rather than watch stuff like that. We're going to be absolutely dreadful.
You didn't have to sit through the Sean Dyche and Sam Allardyce years at Everton, so you probably get off okay.
As a counterpoint, how's Canada going to do in the World Cup?
Do you know, again, it's so similar to Celtic that if they had all the players fit, then, I mean, I was saying a year ago, I thought Canada could genuinely challenge, like quarterfinal, semi. Once you get to the second round, and you're a home nation, anything can happen. Yeah. So I back Canada to go, quarterfinal, even semi-final. Again, Jesse Marsch is just an absolute phenomenal manager, great football. But the problem is now, I think that his that level of intensity that he plays, and a lot of players with injuries, I worry about them coming back into that. People like Alistair Johnston, who just, has tried to come back for Celtic before. I worry about going to a World Cup tournament with so many players coming back from injury with that high level of intensity that Jesse Marsch plays. So I think they're really, really unlucky. Yeah. I don't know.
I must say, I'm pretty disappointed that you're not putting your bets on McTominay to be the Golden Boot winner for the World Cup.
Listen, I wouldn't rule anything out with that guy. I'm surprised he hasn't taken a run at the next American president, because he can do anything, that guy. But but I think, he had a chance tonight, actually. And that was about the only chance of the match. But I think, no, I'm not really. But then, my first tournament I watched was Argentina 1978. I mean, that was my first kind of big football experience, watching it on the telly. And that was an absolute heartbreaker. So Scotland have mentally kicked the crap out of me for many, many decades now, 50 years or something nearly. So yeah, my expectations are always low. People's, there's always a joke about Scotland, it's the hope that kills you. That's why I'd never bother having hope.
Well, being Irish, I had the shit kicked out of me last week. So, I need a team to support. So, after going down to watch the game. So hopefully during the World Cup, they're going to have watch parties. I'm sure for Canada, people should head to Nice or wherever you guys are going to watch the games because it was so much fun. Because I just walked in just after the opening goal. When somebody said to me, "Yeah, McTominay's just scored an overhead kick," I was like, "Fuck off." and then it was a Kenny McLean that scored the goal for the halfway line. It's
let me do it from that. Then he does a Beckham from the halfway line. It's just like, come on. I kept thinking, how much of this legal Canadian marijuana have I had before what's happening here?
Yeah, I definitely felt like I walked into a parallel universe. It was crazy. What a night. So, like, you kind of mentioned there about Canada. So, like, do you have anything? Has the Wanderers kind of hinted at what they're going to do? Any kind of World Cup games, like watch parties for the finals or anything? So,
do you know what? No, there has been no conversations about that yet. But I will be basic because I haven't even thought of it. But but that's a brilliant idea. I mean, you know what? Yes, we will. No, I can't make official announcements on behalf of the club. But I think that's a great idea, and I think we'll definitely try to do that. Yeah. Let's just say we're doing it somehow, even if it's just people coming around mine.
I just feel like you're Alan Partridge, when you sit at the table with Tony Harris coming up with all these ideas for the monkey tennis.
Monkey tennis. It's funny because my wife used to absolutely rip the piss out of me when I started off in radio in Canada and CKBW in Bridgewater because I would have to do things like lost pet announcements. And there was one day there was a lost ostrich from an ostrich farm. And I'm having to do fucking updates on this. And my wife is like, "Oh my God, you're absolutely full Partridge now. This is absolutely terrible." So luckily a week after that, I was fired by them. So that was, that was all right.
Oh my God. I can just picture you sitting there giving updates and the fucking thing goes past the window.
And the thing was I had to do things like funeral announcements. Someone like me should never have to do funeral announcements. I'm just not built that way. But the number one thing you have to get right with funeral announcements is you've got to pronounce the names of the dead correctly. Now, the problem was I was given this name to read out, and it was spelled Boehner.
Bonner.
I didn't know it was pronounced Beaner. I basically said, suddenly at the age of blah, 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 and Andrew Boehner has passed away. The Boehners will be having a reception for anybody who wants to attend. And the Boehners have asked for flowers. Phone lights flashing.
Oh my days! I just exactly said the same thing, so I'm glad I know now in case I ever bump into
Beaner.
So back home, obviously, you mentioned kind of games master there. So like, how did that whole thing, like, was it such a, for people who haven't seen it, I think all the episodes are on YouTube, so it's well worth checking out. It was like the first kind of video game TV show, like what did it feel like to be part of that, kind of like starting off a show like that and then kind of just going a bit wild for you?
It was basically like being in a band that you get a number one record, and the kind of all the ensuing madness. It was absolutely incredible. I wish it hadn't happened to me when I was quite so young. I wish I'd been, a bit older and mature and able to handle it better, because I just went absolute daft. It was just it was the 90s, it was Britpop and everything, and I was there right in the middle, propping up the bar with Jarvis Cocker from Pulp and Noel Gallagher. I mean, it was unbelievable. You just couldn't hope for a greater dream in your life, and I was just so lucky that the video games exploded with the Sega Mega Drive was the thing that really did it, because they made it all trendy. They had a great marketing kind of department, and it just exploded. And I just happened to be there, at the right time. It's the only real kind of face of it. So it was absolutely insane. And it was a real problem when I came to write Games Master, the oral history a few years ago, that I couldn't remember half of it. I mean, the 90s were just to me because just off my face. And so I would, we asked all these people who were involved to send in their memories, and so we could piece together the story. And people are sending me, oh yeah, that time in San Francisco when we were at the exotic, erotic Halloween ball, and you faced down those Latino gangsters outside. I'm like, what? When did that happen? I've no idea any of that stuff. So many things like that happen. Just, like people wake. There's times I'd go up, like to party with people. I'd wake up, my face hanging over the Manchester Canal, 4 a.m. going, what the heck? Where? I don't even know what city I was in. It was my 60s, basically. But yeah, it was absolutely mad. It was brilliant. So I'd recommend it to anyone. Honestly, if anyone out there's thinking about it, should I maybe try and get a big top 10 TV show at the age of 22? Yes, do it. Say yes.
So the thing that always amazed me is how you were able to get Sir Patrick Moore involved. You kind of had all this chaos going on. You being crazy and all the stuff that was happening, and then you'll see Sir Patrick Moore, one of a very distinguished academic. He was a proper kind of eccentric English gentleman. How the hell did you get him on the show?
That I wish I could lay claim to that. No, that was not my idea. That was Cameron who directed the first series, Cameron McAllister. I think that was his idea in conjunction with Jane Hewland, who was the boss. It was an absolutely inspired bit of casting. He was absolutely phenomenal, iconic. And here's the thing as well about him. He was an absolute pro. So he would just record all his bits in a wee green screen studio, and he'd have his bits written on the autocue. He didn't have a clue about anything he was saying, but he just delivered it. He never needed more than one take. He was an absolute pro. He would just knock off a whole series in a couple of hours, and then they would take him for lunch. And that was it. And that was him done till the next year. But he was brilliant.
I wonder, did he actually ever watch an actual episode of it?
I don't think he ever did. I met him only once, and it was quite poignant. I felt for a lot of the time we were like Stevie Wonder and Paul McCartney and Ebony and Ivory. We're doing our bits on the other side of the world. But the very last day of filming, I was walking in and he was walking out, and it was a really beautiful moment. And he looked up and he was like, he kind of was like, I know that guy from somewhere. It's bizarre. We did 7 years of a TV show together. And I'm like, Patrick, it's Dominik. He said, hello, young man. And I'm like, how you doing? He's like, oh, yes, very good. Just wrapped up my thing for the series. It's been jolly well, a lot of fun. And I said, where are you off to now? And he's like, I'm off to Lords for the cricket. And then so we spoke about cricket, right? We spoke about cricket for about 30 minutes. And then we passed our separate ways, and that was it. But the weirdest thing about that, so, we only ever met for 30 minutes. I didn't realize how kind of yoked we were in people's minds, that when Patrick Moore died, I woke up that morning, my email inbox was flooded with people, sorry for your loss, are you okay? Like it was my dad or something like that.
Your TV dad.
And I got really sad, and it really hit me, and I was like, man, that was really such a part of my life, and now he's dead. And then I remembered he was a racist, so Oh, he said a few dodgy things, Patrick. Oh, yeah. Oh, Patrick had some forthright views, apparently, on immigration.
Oh, my days.
Colonies.
Wowzers, I'm taking us on a left turn here.
Thank you.
I got a couple. All right. Totally random that will take us all out of this headspace. So, Dominik, your favorite Timbit soccer player that you had to announce at lunchtime last year?
Oh, man. Well, Mahone Bay have always got a brilliant team, right? So it would be one of there's the coach's daughter of the Mahone Bay team. She's an absolutely phenomenal soccer player. But there's a lot of them. I'd say there's about a dozen of those kids who are absolutely phenomenal. And what's brilliant is that it's when you get one of those kids and they're just bombing through everyone like Sidney Crosby when he played hockey as a kid, Yeah. And that's just lovely. And it's great. And what is brilliant about that is that I talked to the kids beforehand, and I'm like, listen, we're going to go on that pitch. I said, people are going to cheer for you. They're like, no. I'm like, yeah, they're going to cheer so much. They're going to love you. And just the kids are just absolutely just knocked over by it. It's I love it to bits. Even the games where they're all just like stuck together in one part of the pitch, chasing the ball like we all were at school.
Yeah, they absolutely love it. It's an amazing halftime experience for them. Do you have a favorite jersey from the last few years from the Wanderers that you just is your favorite?
Listen, I think no one can see beyond the moon mist goalkeeper top of this season. I mean, that's absolutely outstanding. I love the new black kit as well. I love the black kit. I love the one from 3 years ago because I've got one hanging up in my cupboard signed by Callum Watson. Who's one of my favourite Wanderers players of all time. Mm-hmm. I think if we'd had him alone in Patrice's last 2 seasons, that we could have kicked on more. But yeah, no, I loved Callum to bits. He was a great guy. So yeah, that's him. Unfortunately, the one he signed was his shirt. So he's about half the size of me, so I'm never putting it on. You know, it's always just up there.
Yeah, he's a great player. We missed a lot when he left.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to step up as the surprise Wanderer of the season?
Ogwyn. Yeah, Ogwyn definitely. From what actually, no, 2 players, right? So, I think Ogwyn is great, and he's been brilliant in pre-season, and he's come from nowhere, and he's another young guy, and he's just an absolutely exceptional number 6. But the new guy, who we all saw, the number 33. Who played centre-back against the Icelandic team, Ahmed. And young Ahmed is absolutely phenomenal. Do you know how old he is?
17
years,
yeah.
17 years old. And when I saw that game, and I'm like, who's this guy that we've got in? And I suddenly thought, is this a player we brought in I don't know about? I thought he was an established pro. It wasn't just the basics, he could tackle, he could head, he could win a ball. But with the ball at his feet, he was so composed. And I was like, what the? And then I spoke to Ryan about him, and he's like, yeah, he's 17. I'm like, get out of here. I know Vanny thinks very, very highly of him. And I think that it's difficult because for me, our first choice back 3 just basically picks itself. Kareem, TMG, and Jefferson Alphonse. I think they're just absolutely brilliant. But this guy's going to come on, and I think he'll be good. But I think Lucas Ogwyn will be one of the standout players of the league. He's just he's absolute. But then Troyce as well. He came in and said, "No, see, this is what I do all the time. No, Ogwyn, Lucas Ogwyn. I'm going with Ogwyn. He's going to be the one that will absolutely blow things away this year."
Love it. I must say, I really, I was there for the game against Dal, and he ran the game, and then watching him against the Icelandic team, he was really, really good. It's a really good pickup for us. And Derek and I were talking. He was messaging us about the kid at the back there, because I think a lot of the Wanderers fans were in the same position, going, "Who is this kid?" And then they did a bit of research. And Derek, did he have trials with a couple of teams in Europe already and stuff like that?
He went on trial, I think, in Italy at one point, and he's had some interest from MLS clubs and stuff like that. But yeah, my observation was the same as Dom's, which is like super composed on the ball, and his positioning was so great. Like, you see just the way he wouldn't constant movement and constantly moving to get into the right position. And yeah, just I couldn't believe it when someone said he was 16, 17 years old. Just looked super comfortable at the back there, in the middle of the back 3.
Yeah, I thought that's. I mean, he was in the TMG position as well, which was incredible. Yeah. And I thought what was brilliant about him as well was, at no point did he ever look rushed or panicked. And that's the one thing that you would expect of a young player, especially a young defender. That's normally their tell. But I'm just like, no way. So yeah, Elan Ahmed Hassan, I think he's going to be an absolute superstar one day.
I can't wait. Derek, do you want to do the quick fire questions there?
Yeah, absolutely. So some rapid fire questions for you here, Dom. Let's start with your favorite Canadian food and your favorite Scottish food.
Poutine, without a shadow of a doubt. I once ate poutine 8 days in a row from a dinner in Toronto. I think it's the greatest food concoction known to man. It's just, and I think what's great about it is it's a very Scottish dish. I mean, chips and gravy and cheese, that's as Scottish as they come, But what you did was you took that idea and just gave us like the greatest cheese that you can ever have with gravy and chips. So poutine, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Favourite Scottish food? I know it's the cliche. I mean, I do love haggis. I really do. So I'm going to go for haggis because again, I feel it's one of the obligations you have as a Scottish person is that you've got to promote haggis at every opportunity because so many people just I don't like that, and so haggis is fantastic, man. In fact, I make haggis poutine actually.
Ooh,
yeah, haggis poutine's
game
good.
changer. The culture is melding. I love it.
All right, we're all going over to Dom's to watch Scotland in the World Cup.
No, we'll see those at halftime with the Wanderers. Let's go.
Wanderers grounds or Celtic Park?
Oh, okay. That I gotta say, Celtic Park European night. Nothing like it in the world.
Yeah.
Nothing like it in the world. Yeah.
Radio or TV?
Oh, radio. Yeah, because I don't. I'm very conscious about how I look. I don't like it, and so I never liked it when I was on TV. So when I do radio, I don't have to shave. And the one thing I hate about radio so much is this ridiculous thing where every radio station's got to make videos now. It's like, shut up. If I wanted to make videos, I'd be on the telly. I've done that. I just want to sit here and play my records and talk stuff. I don't want people to see me or anything like that. So yeah, no, radio 100%.
Podcast or print media?
Do we still have a print media? I would always say print media. I was a columnist for the Daily Star in the UK for 8-9 years. I've always written for newspapers. I love the whole newspaper culture. I was very lucky that, you know, even though the Daily Star, down market, lurid right-wing tabloid, and it was very tough being the token left-leaning columnist on there. Thank God I did it before the age of the internet, because judging by the letters I got from people complaining about my liberal views, the comments underneath my columns would have been just an absolute horrific car crash. But what was great was that there was a lot of old Fleet Street characters, and they would take me out to the classic London press pubs and everything. And I love that whole culture. I love newspapers. I was told by my history teacher when I was at school, one of our assignments was, he said, right, for the summer, I want you to every day take a news story and read it in 2 different newspapers, and then you'll learn about bias and everything like that. And I was so pleased when I first came here. In my first year, 18 months, I did a column for the Chronicle Herald, which was my adventures as a new Nova Scotian. And I love papers. There's nothing I used to love more than Sunday morning, you know, just all the Sunday papers spread out in the bed with toast and everything. No, I love newspapers. It's one of the biggest tragedies that we don't have them physically as much as we do now.
Your favorite sports video game?
Sensible Soccer. Sensible Soccer on the Amiga. In fact, I love that so much, actually. So I'm doing this live show I'm doing in Norwich, the stage show. Where basically it's getting people on stages to do challenges, and it's got one from every series of Games Master, except for Series 4, when I had a choice of can't remember, it was some football game we had, but we never had Sensible Soccer on. And I always wanted to have Sensible Soccer, but they kept telling me, oh, the players are too little. They won't see them good on the TV. But they were great guys. Sensible Software were like hardcore football fans. They were brilliant lads. So, no, Sensible Soccer was just absolutely just beautiful. So, yeah, that's the best one.
And finally, who is the nicest member of Take That?
Robbie Williams. Robbie Williams and I'll tell you a quick story about Rob. Robbie's helped me out twice. We got on well when he came on Games Master. And then, so we were in, it was after the first Tea in the Park festival. It's like Scottish Glastonbury. And I was at the after show party. And I hear a shout, Dominik. I turn around, and it's Robbie Williams. He was very drunk. And he said, you made a joke about shagging my mum. I'm like, what? And apparently I'd written something in Smash Hits magazine, which I wrote for at the time. I was like, what? And he was like, oh, I'm only joking. And I was with like my girlfriend then and my pals and their wives. And I was like, oh, hi, listen, this is my friends, blah, blah, blah. And he was so charming with them. He was so charming with the ladies. And then he said to me, he said, I'm with Noel, right? No Gallagher said, do you want to come? We're going to go up to the party. And I'm like, oh, fantastic. And I said to my mate, David Wells, who used to be in a great old Scottish band called H2. I said, come on, David, you know, we're going to have a great time here. And I met, and Robbie's like, no, this is Dominik Diamond. Blank look from Noel Gallagher. Games Master. Blank look. The video game show. All right. Oh, yeah, that one. And I'm like, yeah. I said, how you doing? I said, I'm Dominik. I said, this is my mate David. And I needed to think of a line. And I went, he plays guitar too. And Noel just glazed over and he just grabbed Robbie's arm and walked off. And I never made it to that party in the room. But then fast forward, there was about a year later, 2 years later, and I'm dating this police sergeant from Liverpool. Long story. And I was meeting her in King's Cross in London, and the last thing she said to me was, "Hey, don't be late, right? Whatever you do, I'm not waiting at the train station. Don't be late. Don't be late." She was quite high maintenance, and I was late because of traffic. And I'm looking around, and I see her, and she's got a face like thunder. I'm like, oh no! She's like, "Right, I'm getting back on that train. This is it. We're finished. We're finished." And there's a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around. There's a guy with his hood up. And he pulls the hood down, and it's Robbie Williams. And he was going incognito because he just left Take That week, and he was getting hounded by the paparazzi. And I'm like, Robbie, how you doing? Oh, he's like, all right, I'm trying to keep it quiet because the paparazzi are after me. And he's like, who's this lovely lady? And I said, oh, this is my girlfriend, Paul. I said, she's really angry with me because I was late. And Robbie said, oh, were you stuck in the traffic on the A40? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh yeah, so was I. He said, listen, don't give him a hard time. He went into bat for me, Robbie Williams.
Oh,
and
wow.
he saved that relationship for me just off the top of his head. He's the loveliest, nicest guy in the world. Love him to bits.
What an absolute fucking icon. I love it. And I love the fact that it's gone full circle with Alan Park is that you're going back to Norwich. So
Exactly.
So Dominik, thank you so much for your time, man. It's been amazing. It's great that you're fully integrated into the Wanderers ecosystem now. It's awesome, and people love the show and stuff like that. But I know you do your radio show. So how can where do people find you during the week when you're not doing Wanderers related stuff?
89.9 The Wave.
What time? It has to be a time though, right? Does it just change every day? Whenever you get out of bed.
6 a.m. till 10. Sorry, 6 a.m. till 10. But I wouldn't bother with the last hour. Last hour's never that good. But 6 to 9's all right. So yeah, and listen, can I say as well, guys? I love your podcast so much, and I love that the tactical level that you guys get into. I learn so much every time that I listen to you guys' podcast, and I absolutely love it. So you guys do great work, and it's brilliant. So it's my pleasure to be on with you guys.
You must have had us confused with when Gary deigns to make an appearance.
What we do is we just get Gareth to send us notes now, and we can just read them out.
Gary's basically like with tactics. Gary's like Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind. Yeah. You know, it's like he just sees the blackboard changing and lines coming across.
Well, I'm like Alan from The Hangover. So I just before we go, guys, I did want to give a shout out to Josh Healy. Like, obviously we all know Josh. He's come out with a new subscriber level for Halifax Football Post called the Supporters Club. He does great work for the community here in Halifax, for the Wanderers and for the Tides and Canada soccer in general. So if you get a chance to give a subscription to it, it's $20 for the year or something like that, and you get to exclusive articles and exclusive podcasts and all that kind of stuff. Definitely worth giving them a subscribe. So lads,
can I also say about Josh is that if I'm ever looking through my lineup and everything, I'm like, oh, what can I say? But if there's ever anything I don't know, I'll always look around for Josh in the press box, because I'll always be able to ask him and he'll be able to tell me the answer. He's an absolute phenomenal member of the Wanderers fraternity. Great guy.
So yeah, if you can do that, that'd be awesome. Dominik, thank you so much. Looking forward to the new season. It's coming quickly upon us, and we were thinking about putting a paywall on our show, but I you know what? I wouldn't even get a cup of coffee out of it. So lads, thank you so much. Have a great night. I really appreciate it.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Come on, you Wanderers.
Come on, you Wanderers.